Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dr. Becky Mancuso. I'm the graduate coordinator in the history department here at BGSU. We're so glad to have you for our webinar today. And I'm also with Dr. Emil Karchalou, who's the chair of the department. We're looking forward to talking with you today about our MA program and the kinds of careers that it can prepare you for. So we're going to go through that in just about 25 minutes or so, and then we're going to save time for questions. So thanks again for joining us. Dr. Chalou, why don't you go ahead?
Yes, so as the resident economic historian, I'm in charge of doing the career stuff of this webinar. Becky, could you put we have a little poll just to know a little bit where we are at in terms of interests in careers. So the poll is out.
Just launched that, yeah.
Okay, so there are two questions, right? The first is, what are your general career goals? Is that like launching a career? Is that advancement? Is that going into a further graduate degree, like a PhD? Or and that's the first question. And the second question is, what general occupation you're envisioning, right? That could be working in an archive, in a museum, in academia, government, law, etc. So we have the first question. Let me know when you have some answers, and we go into it.
Yeah, people are answering it right now.
Yeah. So let me begin while you're taking the survey, discussing a few things about careers. So I think the job market today and the economy today is what we may call a knowledge economy, right? And it's an economy that, I mean, if we take a look at the post-war era, things were quite predictable, right? You could start a trade and be sure that you could continue into that trade and working in that occupation for a while. And that applied to blue-collar jobs, white-collar jobs, and also in academia. You would just start an MA, start a PhD, and then you would be funneled into an academic career, and that's it. The economy these days, or the society these days, is a little bit different, and it has been different for a few decades, but now it's quite obvious that it's way more fluid. In a way, this has to do with social, economic transformations in general. We are living through a period that would be comparable to the Industrial Revolution in a way. So imagine in the Industrial Revolution, again, you knew where you were going to be going. Am I a peasant? I'm an artisan. I do an apprenticeship. And then after that, and then the Industrial Revolution like upset all that. We're living in a similar world in which we have less certainty, but also amazing opportunities, right? And in a way, knowledge and technology are getting us to expand the frontiers of what we can do. So it is exciting. At the same time, there's, I mean, the old ways don't work necessarily the same. So when we're talking the old ways, right, and we're talking about the history degree, I want to dispel this idea that the history degree is just entrenched in the past, that it's something for what I would call library rats or archive rats, right? Like I nerd out in history, so I do my my MA, maybe later my PhD. History career is quite malleable and serves a lot of functions. In fact, that's in the present, that's even in the past. Just take a look at our roster of presidents or senators or diplomats. Kissinger, who recently passed, right? Historian, right? And people with a history formation are everywhere, were everywhere, are everywhere, and will be everywhere. Because history is a broad training that helps in many ways. Particularly, an MA in history helps you or empowers you, that's the word I like, empowers you to move into different career paths that some of them may be obvious, some are less obvious. And so I wanted to cover those a little bit. Do we have the two answers to the polls?
It's a pretty fair mix of responses across all of those
Across
categories.
all the categories. So
Oh, good.
Oh, okay. So bad luck for you guys. I will go through all the slides. Maybe I thought that. Okay. So can you move on to the first slide, public
Yeah.
history careers? So a typical outcome of a career outcome of an MA in history is working in what we call public history, right? And the name may not be necessarily that recognizable outside museums or outside academia. But public history stands for what I would say history for the public, with the public, and to a large extent by the public, too. It's the public engagement dimension of history. We are not producing history for the consumption in the ivory tower. We are producing history to engage people in the passion for history, storytelling, memory, etc. We have had great success with our students doing public history careers to a large extent, because we have designed the MA as a degree that it's bringing content and applying it to internships, to historical interpretation, cataloging of collections, etc. And you have here just four examples, but really we could go on and on. People are all over Ohio, all over the country. We have folks in Montana, Texas, Tennessee,
Wisconsin.
Yeah. And one of the strengths of our program in terms of public history is precisely not only that internship dimension, but also how we apply in our capstone and in different classes the skills. But this is one path, going into a path of working in a museum. It could even be national parks, places like that. Then we move to the next one, and we have another key path is government, libraries, education in general, and education more like higher education in PhD programs. It used to be the case that if you started an MA program, it was mostly to go on into a PhD program. And that's not necessarily the case. I would say today, probably 20% of our students go on in a PhD route. They do pretty well. We have a good placement in PhD programs. But we have them, again, working all over the place. We have folks, and the latest news we received is someone being hired in University of Washington, Seattle. So that's a distinct possibility. The academic history market is a little bit restricted these days. So in order to move on into that path, you also need to bring in a portfolio. You are not just expert in a topic, you need to bring other skills as well. Our MA sets you up for that. I think gives a very good preparation. But let me talk about the less obvious paths as well. We have folks working in the federal government, assisting or in legal research, in EPA. We have folks working in libraries and as legislative aides who now are chief of staffs of legislators. And again, well, in national parks, I mentioned that already with public history, in the archives as well, national archives, digital history as well. And I would say, I would add that there's also this entrepreneurial dimension to history that it's growing, that it's people who are doing like storytelling in history and doing that more as a business, not in the sense of becoming a corporation, but a business as a personal endeavor. Anyway, then another path is high school teachers. And some of our students do the MA and then become teachers, but also it's very common that we have teachers who are doing the MA as they are teaching to gain further qualification to teach in college level classes or AP or other advancement in the high school degree. BGSU is a great school for that. We have excellent School of Education, excellent partnerships there. Also, we are committed teachers. We work hard in pedagogy, and we have tons of teachers in our networks too. We are very active in Ohio History Day, that our webinar organizer is spearheading there. So we do have a trajectory in History Professional Day, a workshop we organize every other year for professional development. We have a lot of contact, and we leverage that into providing, like I would say, a first-rate way of advancement in education. We have our alums, again, all over the place, in public districts, also in private schools, and also in non-teaching positions. Some folks are doing advising, or some people do the MA and then apply for a principal position and things like that. And I think I went over my 10 minutes.
Oh, no, you're just a little bit, you're all right.
That's a story of my life. So thank you for your attention. I'm happy to entertain any questions.
History professors like to talk. Yes, if we can go to the next slide, that's a picture that I took of our graduating class. And it's just been really rewarding for me to see where they've gone and the variety of jobs that they have. Many of them are in history-related fields, some others not, but that's what they chose. And the important thing to say about that is that they were qualified to do that. So yeah, that was a really fun night. Graduation's always fun for me to see everybody launched and to see them doing so well. So yeah, I'm just going to walk you then briefly through a few points about our MA program. We're not going to really get into the weeds a bit too much, but just some of the different kinds of programs we offer, because we have several, and what it takes to apply, and then just briefly how to get through that MA to prepare yourself for what you want to do. So if you want to go ahead to the next slide, thank you. This shows you our different types of degrees and certificates. So in the full-time MA program is the most competitive one. That's the full-time program, largely face-to-face, although we do have some online classes. But you come to Bowling Green, you study with us, you work with us, because for this particular group, we offer tuition scholarships and a stipend so that you can be a teaching assistant with us, or in some cases, we place our grad students in the archives here at the university. But that is our competitive full-time 2-year program. And we're recruiting for that right now and going through all the applications there right now. Many people, though, join our program part-time. These would be teachers. These might be public history practitioners out there. So studying part-time is a good possibility. And we do each semester offer a couple of, at least 2 usually, online programs, right? Online courses, yes, so that students can study remotely, and that works real well for teachers and office workers and so forth. We have a couple of certificate programs. One is a certificate in public history, which many of our full-time MA students earn, and they earn it on top of the regular MA. So when you come out of our 2-year degree, you can have the full MA, but then you also have the public history certificate on top of that, which is attractive to, again, museums and historic sites and so forth. It's also a standalone program, though, if you just want to come in and take the necessary classes of 14 to 15 credits to earn a certificate in public history to advance your career. You can do that. The certificate for professionals and educators, Dr. Chalou mentioned that a little bit, and that is mainly for the high school teachers who want to be promoted or to teach those AP history courses. And that is offered mainly online. We make sure that we always have online courses that appeal to those students. Finally, real quick, we have an accelerated BA to MA program. So if any of you folks there are undergrads at BGSU, for your last year as an undergrad, you can apply to that program, and we take a look at your record. And if you have a strong record, then you can get in the accelerated program and start taking graduate classes as an undergraduate, and then jump into the full program. Okay, so pathways through the program. You need 30 hours of credit for the full MA, and I will let you read there the kinds of courses that we have. The kinds of courses that we have, the variety of courses, not just in areas like US or Europe or Asia. We have all that, but also in all kinds of other interesting topic areas that are really interesting at the moment and getting a lot of attention at the moment. Courses on conflict, courses on drugs and alcohol in history, and we're going to be offering more digital history courses coming up too. So you go through the program, you need to take a required course in historiography, but the rest of the courses you can largely choose. If you're working on public history, you take a concentration of courses in that area. But as you get into your second year, or if you're part-time, after you've gotten enough credits behind you, you begin to design your own capstone project. And we mentor you through that. And there are 3 choices, although within those 3 choices, there are many, many things you could do. The first pathway is the thesis pathway. And if you're thinking of going on for a PhD, or if you just simply like to write and you want to do a large-scale writing project, you can do that for your final project. We have the exam option too, comprehensive exams, and that also comes with, we ask the student to enhance one of their best seminar research papers, and your professor helps you get that into shape so that you could either publish it or you could go to a conference and present the paper and have it published in conference proceedings. So we really like to do that with a view to kind of giving you some skills to move forward in that way, helping you do public speaking, for example, or to just learn what the fields are like out there, what the employment fields are like, and you can think about what employers are looking for as you work on those skills. The final pathway is the public history project. And that one, again, you work with a professor here at BG, but then usually a practitioner out there in the field. It could be an archivist, it could be a museum curator, it could be a museum education director. There are so many possibilities. It could be with someone in government, depending on what some of these offices and institutions are looking for. And yeah, all kinds of projects, curation, exhibits, archival projects, tours, podcasts, all of these kinds of things. And so we have students now doing archival work, podcasts, all kinds of fantastic projects. And at the end, when you're finishing up your project, you give a presentation to the department and you go on your way. All right, so that gives you a sense of the capstones, research and professional development. That's our next slide. And we just wanted to tell you briefly that is a real strength of our department and something very important that we offer. From the very beginning, we want, again, for our students to have a view to what employers out there are looking for, what the public history fields, what public history employers are looking for, what the field is like. And so we support you in your research. If you need some money to go to an archive and do research in an archive, if you need money for a public history project, we can generally support you in that. If you want to go to a conference and present one of your papers at a conference, we give you some funding to do that. And so does our graduate college. So there are a few avenues for funding there. But that's just a great way for us to kind of get you out of the university walls a little bit and get you out there doing research and meeting folks and just learning about the world. Anything to add about that, Dr. Chalou?
No,
Okay.
no. I the only thing when we were talking about the classes, the historiography class, I mean it is an introduction of the theory of history, to put it in a way, but also it's an introduction to the field, right? And what does it mean to be a historian in the present age? And it's also a good way to get to know all the other first year students. I think yeah, so the program is designed also in that way, how we can create pathways for people to create a community of historians.
Yeah, that's a good point. The historiography course is historiography and the field and professional fields. And so you start thinking about that at the outset. Good. So that's a good segue into the next slide, graduate student life.
And we have here actually Emily Shaver. I don't know if we can rotate the
Emily Shaver K now.
Oh, yes. There,
She was
Oh.
recently married. Yeah.
that's it. Yeah,
I think
yes.
your slides went away.
Yeah, I'm gonna get the slide back.
Yeah, yeah,
Here,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
can't do
Yes,
both.
yes, and there you can.
Yeah.
There we go.
Right.
But feel free just to tell everybody a little bit about what life is like in Bowling Green and your experience here as a graduate student.
Yeah, we have a great community of, studying historians here. The grad students are pretty tight with each other. We definitely try to support each other as much as we can. We have, an honor society. We try to have events every year, going to local museums, local historic sites. We try to have movie nights and game nights, and we sometimes take trips. Last year we went to Chicago and we toured some museums in Chicago. We've been to Louisville. I think the year before they went to Cincinnati. And it's a good cohort, I think.
Yeah.
And the professors are very supportive of anything you want to do here. One thing I really like about our program is that there's not really any emphasis on any one path. You can, if you want to do a thesis, great, that's perfect. If you want to do a public history capstone, perfect. If you want to do exams, that's no one path is any less, it's not considered any less academic or any
Mhm.
less important than any other. And so I think there's a lot of good support for that. I think there's also a lot of good support for understanding the reality of what the field is like today. The field of history has changed a lot in the past, half century.
Mhm.
And you have to navigate it in different ways than maybe a lot of our mentors have gone through it whenever they were in grad school. And so there's a lot of good there's a good infusion of realism here.
Yeah.
And I really think that well prepares you for what you're going to encounter once you.
And one point I wanted to add on this is that realism doesn't mean pessimism. In that actually careers in curation, careers in archives, libraries, they are growing. They are growing even faster than the general job market. So it's an exciting time actually to do history too.
Yeah.
It is. And you, Emily, actually worked as a teaching assistant for us for a year and then in the archives. So you had a kind of a good variety of training while you were here.
Yes, and I think being a TA prepares you really well for not even just if you want to go into like a PhD program or you want to be a professor, you want to be a teacher, but it really teaches you how to best communicate your knowledge of history to an audience that may not be as familiar with the topic as you are. So it's beneficial no matter what area of history you go into.
Yeah.
If you work in a museum, it prepares you for being able to communicate with the public these ideas of history that they aren't going to know as well as someone that studied the field for 10 years, 20 years.
Right.
And being, I'm currently the research assistant in the archives, and it's prepared me with being able to handle artifacts and records and physical aspects of history that is not as well learned in the classroom. It's good to have that hands-on experience
Applied
for me
experience.
and
Yeah.
because I enjoy the archives and I may want to go into a career in the archives. So if you're interested in the archives, that's a good way to kind of understand if you want to pursue that as a
Right.
career.
Good. Thank you. Well, we have a few minutes for questions, and if you want to bring up that last slide so that people can see my contact information there. You can email me if you want to have a Zoom meeting or face-to-face meeting to talk about your interests, your needs, and a timeline for maybe when you would like to apply. That would be great. And you see, I've got my email there. Oh, I also have my phone number. It's kind of old-timey, but grad students do occasionally call me, so I'm going to put that up there. You might also want to contact other BGSU professors that you want to work with if you're interested in the history of Africa, history of Asia. If you're interested in the history of technology, we have professors who do that. And so give them a call and or an email or Zoom, I guess, and come and see them. And it's never a bad idea to talk to a few professors. You see there at the bottom of that last slide what you need to apply, but I'm happy to coach you along with that as well.
So we have a few questions.
Oh, we do. We have questions. Excellent.
We have one question right now. If a current Bowling Green student is finishing his BA this coming fall 2023, would he be able to start the MA program in the spring?
Yes. They could start with courses.
Okay.
Funding is a little bit more challenging because the funding comes through for fall. And so we would have to see if we had any funding left, for example, for that person to work as a teaching assistant or something like that, but it's certainly possible. But there, again, you can take graduate classes your last term if you want to be an accelerated student, or you can just contact the graduate college and get permission to take graduate level classes.
Mhm.
And then those can transfer over
transfer,
into the
yeah.
MA. Yep, up to 9 credits. Yep.
Waiting to see if we have any more questions.
Does anybody have questions about the public history field or kinds of courses we have, anything like that? We have a lot of connections with folks in public history. So
Mhm.
I didn't have much of a chance to talk about this, but we have a great internship program that is part of our MA program. And you don't have to be in the public history area to do that. Any graduate student can get an internship, and we place people with government and in museums and wow, up at Fort Meigs, libraries, all those
Mhm.
places we've been talking about. And we help you find a placement in an internship that you like. Some of them are paid. More and more of them are paid, and that's really good news.
And we are probably 2 years away from being able to fund internships as well, or at least to defray some of the costs.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I mean, our classes in GMA in general and in history are, I mean, you have some programs that are very programmatic, very formulaic in the way, like you have like US before this, after this, from this year to this year. We tend to be more thematic in our approach. We do have American history classes, we do have world history classes, but we tend to bring things together. So for instance, we have a class on environment and health. That's the one I helped create, right? That whether that ends in the US or goes beyond, it's all at once. Classes on drugs and alcohol history, right? Or even the local history class that Dr. Mancuso teaches. Some people are doing local history, but of a side that it's not in the United States as well. So like that's kind of our brand, to put it in quotation marks, is that we blend things together, that we don't see history as parcelized, as okay, you are doing American history in the 19th century and you're doing Latin American history in the 20th century. We are bringing things. I mean, we bring the synergy. I don't know if there's some question or.
So the student who was asking about starting in the spring,
Yeah.
he is actually at a different institution. He's not a
Oh,
Bowling
yeah.
Green
Oh,
student.
okay.
So I sent him some information.
Yeah.
I think the same process would apply there.
Yeah.
Yep, I'd be happy to talk with the student because some of those credits could be transferred to Bowling Green. That's a possibility too, or the student can take courses online too with us and get a sense of what we offer.
And I can email out all of this information to participants.
That's fine. Please share the.
And I think the problem with spring admissions is that it takes some time to coordinate and to figure out how it works, and it depends a lot on the current situation. I mean, how the university is managing the scholarships and things like that.
Yeah.
So we have had it probably every year. We have someone coming in spring, but it does take a little bit more time to set it up.
It does.
Yep.
Okay, if there are no more questions, then we just want to thank you for joining us. And I do hope to hear from some of you. And I recognize that, you may not be quite ready to jump into our AMA program, but I'm happy to talk to you about grad school generally and about your career goals. So feel free to contact us. Thank you very much.